welcome dear viewers. You're still watching us on ERi-TV, presenting you the domestic and international news prepared for this session live from our headquarters in Asmara. I'm Hermela Grimay, inviting you to join us on our tonight's news broadcast. Let's start with the major headlines. Contribution towards Augment Martyrs Trust Fund. Training for heads of Ministry of Education branch in Ansaba region. Trump announces trade deal with South Korea. And 15 more countries urge recognition of Palestinian state. On our detailed domestic news, the Ministry of Labour and Social Welfare reported that nationals inside the country and abroad have extended financial support to augment the National Martyrs Trust Fund. Accordingly, nationals in southwest Stockholm contributed 33,000 kronor. The Eritrean community in Sandasvall and its environs contributed 25,000 kronor. Nationals in Norrköping contributed 13,000 kronor. The Eritrean community in Almult contributed 5,000 kronor. And members of the Nafahedri Martyrs contributed 5,000 kronor. Similarly, nationals in Los Angeles, including priest Tekla Haimanot Kflesgi and his spouse Mrs. Abrahat Enasgedom, contributed $1,000, while Mr. Haile Mehret Ab, Mr. Ambassador Berhana, and Mr. Johannes Abraham collectively contributed $700 towards enhancing the National Martyrs Trust Fund. Likewise, the National Confederation of Eritrean Workers contributed 96,000 nakfa. The Eritrean community in Sandasvall and its environs contributed another 25,000 kronor. The Eritrean Cooperative Association in Linköping contributed 15,000 kronor. And nationals in Norway, Mrs. Samhar Hapte Mikael and Mr. Daniel Gebremeskel contributed 10,188 nakfa. Nationals in Sweden, Mrs. Tsegahanna Baleta and Mrs. Belul Tsegay contributed 5,760 kronor. Mr. Sem Yamana contributed 1,900 kronor and Mrs. Froweni Takhlu contributed 1,400 kronor. Youth members of the Kidana Mehret Association in Edmonton, Canada contributed $1,000. Mr. Temesgan Kifletzion, a resident of Angola, contributed $720. And nationals in Leiden and its environs in the Netherlands contributed 5,040 euros in support of families of martyrs. The Ministry of Education branch in the Ansaba region, in collaboration with partners, has provided training to heads of education regional office and supervisors, school directors, head of subzonal education offices, and other officials. The training, conducted from 22nd to 28th July in Karen, covered administration and leadership, student-centered teaching methodology, conflict resolution, reporting and statistics, as well as other topics related to the teaching-learning process. Mr. Kifla Ande Mikael, head of the education office in the region, stated that the objective of the training was to identify strengths and challenges and to enhance the capacity and competitiveness of students. Ambassador Abdullah Musa, governor of the region, emphasized the significance of the training in ensuring quality education and called for its sustainability. In the same vein, Brigadier General Eyob Sahaya Halibai, commander of the Western Command of the Eritrean Defense Forces, conducted a seminar for the training participants under the theme, "The compensation of a committed teacher is the satisfaction of conscience." Noting that teachers and teaching are key pillars of resilience, Brigadier General Eyob underscored that education is the only path to development and called on teachers to properly discharge the heavy responsibility bestowed upon them. Dear viewers, stay tuned for our international news right after the short break. Welcome back. President Donald Trump has announced that the U.S. has finalized a trade deal with South Korea that features a 15% tariff on imports from Seoul. In addition, South Korea has pledged $350 billion in U.S.-controlled investments and $100 billion in purchases of American energy products. South Korea argued that the $350 billion investment in the American economy will promote Korean industrial access to the U.S. market in sectors such as shipbuilding, semiconductors, secondary batteries, biotechnology, and energy. In 2024, South Korea exported $132 billion in goods to the U.S. with automobiles, semiconductors, and electronics among the top categories, while U.S. exports to South Korea totaled $66 billion, mainly industrial machinery, oil, and gas, according to the Commerce Department data. This created a $66 billion U.S. trade deficit in goods, excluding services, which would narrow the gap when included. "15 countries have joined the growing push to recognize Palestinian statehood. Their calls echo the position of nations such as Russia that already recognize Palestine and view a two-state solution as the only way to end the war in Gaza. A joint issued late Tuesday following a conference in New York, the foreign ministers of Andorra, Australia, Canada, Finland, France, Iceland, Ireland, Luxembourg, Malta, New Zealand, Norway, Portugal, San Marino, Slovenia, and Spain urged global recognition of Palestine and an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The statement comes days after France and United Kingdom pledged to formally recognize Palestinian statehood at the UN General Assembly in September. The conflict erupted in October 2023 after a Hamas incursion into southern Israel that resulted in 1,200 deaths and the capture of dozens of hostages. Since then, over 60,000 Palestinians have been killed, according to the Gaza Health Minister. Dear viewers, we are done with the news prepared for this session, and now it's time for a quick recap of the major headlines. Contribution towards augmenting Martyrs Trust Fund. Training for heads of Ministry of Education branch in Ansaba region. Trump announces trade deal with South Korea. And 15 more countries urge recognition of Palestinian state. Ladies and gentlemen, that was all for tonight. Thank you for having us and have a blessed one.